And we're back. Welcome back to the Auto Authorities Podcast. My name is Jay Grossman. I am the founder and CEO of iAutoAgent.com. And oh my goodness, do we have a episode today. We have been hearing about Carvana, all these stories. We've been reading about them. But wait until you hear the story. I've got Brian standing by right now. He came to us. He has a story that's going to absolutely blow your mind. And me, after 26 years of doing this, I've never heard a story like this before. And we're going to do this right now.
Have you ever felt like you were taken for a ride while buying, selling, or repairing your car? Well, not anymore. I'm Jay, and this is the podcast to tell you what to watch out for, whether you are buying, selling, or repairing your car. With over 26 years of automotive experience, we are the Auto Authorities. This podcast is sponsored by iAutoAgent.com. We're real estate agents for cars.
Boom, booyah. Welcome back to the Auto Authorities Podcast. My name is Jay Grossman. And before we begin, we have an absolute nightmare horror story from Carvana. And before we get into this and we meet Brian, who is our, quote, victim, I would like to thank our sponsors, iAutoAgent.com. If you are looking to sell your car, they will handle the marketing, the listing, and the showing of the vehicle. They will meet the strange people that you don't want to meet at no cost to you and get you more money than you would if you went to a dealer. And if you want to buy a car, they will help you buy a car nationwide. They'll handle everything from A to Z. They'll get the showings, financing, everything that you can possibly think about, so you don't have to go sit in the dealership for 4 to 7 hours and waste your valuable time. And if you're just tuning in and you are watching this on YouTube, you can actually be alerted by clicking the notification button or the subscribe button on YouTube, and you can watch this beautiful podcast every single week. You can watch all of them that we've done because we've been doing this almost 2 years now. And if you want to watch us live, go to the Facebook group page at 12 p.m. Central Time on Tuesday. You can watch this live. You can be part of our community. We even have this amazing forum for anything automotive related that you need. Go to the Auto Authorities Podcast group page. But if you're just driving to work and you just want to listen to this and you want to learn more and how to avoid nightmares like what we're getting ready to talk about, just go to iTunes or 19 other different channels such as Pandora or Amazon, and you can literally listen to us anytime you want. But without further ado, I would like to introduce you to my guest, aka victim of Carvana, Brian. Welcome to the show, Brian.
Thank you, Jay. Thanks for the time and opportunity to get in front of your audience today. And I got to say, good title for the podcast today.
Yeah. Just to let everybody know a little bit about what Carvana was supposed to do when they came around in 2012. They were supposed to create this Amazon of used cars. It was going to be so easy for people to buy a car online, click a button, they deliver it to you. They make it just so easy. And if you don't like it, you can take it back and they'll send you the paperwork that you need and you won't have to go visit a dealership. And they also, like, a lot of people don't know this, but Carvana was started in 2012 by Ernie Garcia II. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to put his name on Carvana, so he gave the CEO title to Ernie Garcia III, probably because he was convicted of fraud and he is a convicted ex-con who spent many years in prison. So anyway, that gets a really good setup for Brian to come in and tell us a little bit about his story. Brian, is this how your story started and ended, or was it a little bit different?
It did not end well, but so Jay, what ended up happening is early 2022, I'd say first quarter. My wife and I are very busy professionals. We were seeking a luxury sedan car for my wife to drive every day for her real estate business. And in doing so, we were looking at dealerships and kind of were getting the runaround, as you had mentioned earlier. So we wanted to take the opportunity to take a look at Vroom and Carvana, some of those other retailers that are out there. And we went in eyes wide open, rather. We did some research, looked at YouTube, did the Google reviews, whatnot. We knew that we were taking a risk by going the option of Carvana.
Yeah. And, I'm all about risk. I'm a business owner, and, sometimes risks are good to take. They have a really, really pretty commercials that make it look easy.
They do. And more importantly, the pricing of the car was very aggressive, especially in the luxury sedan models that we were looking at. They were very aggressive, very competitive in that range. And like I said, and you said earlier, the intent was that it was going to be very Amazon-esque. Point and shoot, click, it's delivered to your doorstep.
Yeah, exactly. And what like keep going through the story and how it all transpired.
Okay, I'll keep going. Feel free to ask any questions, interject as you see fit.
Sure.
So we picked out the model that we wanted to get. It was a Lexus ES350 is what we designed as we wanted to get. My son and I sat down, picked out out of the two cars that we were looking at, which one we wanted, and hit the go button. We bought it, made the purchase. And that's where things started immediately. Once we started figuring out the financing, they wanted us to finance through them versus going through our bank, and their rate weren't as preferred as going through my bank. So automatically, by switching from their bank to my bank, the delivery time window got moved on me. So you know as well as I do that they give you get to pick your own delivery date that's convenient for you. By going in and changing the payment arrangement or terms, they moved the timetable out even further for delivery of the car. And then so I'm sitting at home. I'm a busy professional. I can work from anywhere remotely. I'm calling you right now from Las Vegas, Nevada, in fact. But I'm sitting at home working, waiting on them to arrive, and they no-called, no-showed. Didn't even show up with my car the day that it was scheduled to show up. When I called Carvana to find out and inquire why, they informed me that it was because of a driver shortage. They did not have enough staff to make the deliveries for the day. Can
I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So when was it supposed to be, and then when did it become?
It was I can't remember the exact timing. It was March when we bought the car. Actual delivery was probably 2 to 3 weeks after the actual purchase date, when we actually hit the click on the computer.
3 weeks?
Approximately, yes. That was, yeah.
Holy cow. So let's just think about this. So when people buy cars, they usually need cars, and there's usually a reason why they need a car, whether their car didn't work anymore, or they got into a bind. Can you imagine, for anybody who's listening to this, to get a car in 3 weeks? It just doesn't sound like the commercial, Brian. I'm really confused. Wow.
Yeah, it was not an ideal experience, especially at the onset, like I was describing. And after waiting 3 weeks, the car did arrive. The young lady that delivered the car, we took delivery. And as you know, you have the option to go around the car, take it for a test drive. And going around the car, I identified many things that were already wrong with it that wasn't disclosed in the videos, the pictures, and the write-up on the car from the website. For instance, I had additional door dings. They had mentioned that there was 2 key fobs for the car. Only one came with the car, and the car was not detailed. So what I mean by that, more specifically, is that it's hard to describe it. When they bring these cars, they're on flatbed trucks and trailers, right? The tow trucks with the flatbeds. So the driver has to walk up the flatbed and then get into the car, which can be a task in and of itself. what ended up happening, from what I gathered from the conversations that I had, is that the driver had a greasy hands, if you will. And then right after you open the driver's side door, they reached inside, grabbed around the inside where the seatbelt is, and had pulled themselves up and into the car. And there was just grease all over that pillar right there, along with several other parts of the car were covered in grease on the interior of the car.
So what I've heard you say so far is you wanted to use your own financing. They didn't like that.
Correct.
So that actually they said, well, if you want to use your own financing, we're just actually going to make it longer now for you to get your car. And I also heard that it was supposed to be detailed. It was supposed to have 2 key fobs, and then there was damage on the car when you got it. Holy cow, this is becoming a nightmare. And the unprofessionalism of their delivery person. Now you have you've got what you said, grease on either on your, was it on your seatbelt or?
It was actually on the B pillar, is what they call it, that right there where the seatbelt is. Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah. So it's not an ideal experience. So I ended up taking delivery of the car because you know as well as I do that they have this insurance program that as long as you make a claim within 7 days, the car can be repaired and fixed. What I did not realize, Jay, was that the onus was on me. What I meant by that was I had to file these claims. Each individual instance was its own claim. So the detail, the body damage, and the key fob each had to have 3 separate claims with their insurance carrier called Silver Rock, I believe.
Yep.
Guess what, Jay? I had to run the car around town, spending my time and energy setting up these appointments, taking my car to the Lexus dealership to get a new key fob, taking it to the body shop, and then taking it to get it detailed. Jay, after I took delivery of the car, I did not have it for probably another 2 weeks while it was getting repaired with all these different things. So imagine, if you will, the day of the key fob was in and out probably 3-4 hours. The detail and the body shop took about a week or 2 because they had to order parts and do what they needed to do to make it right.
Wow. And we're not just talking about some little, $10,000 car. We're talking about a Lexus ES350 that was probably what, a $30,000 to $40,000 car.
45.
How much was it?
45.
$45,000 car winds up, into your driveway in this type of condition. I would have been like, where are the cameras? I'm getting punked. Yeah. I'm getting punked, or a prank TV show or something. It's interesting, Brian, we have been talking about Carvana a lot on this podcast, and I've read a lot. Now, their Better Business Bureau is I think they have I don't even think they're rated on Better Business Bureau, which is lower than an F. And you got to try hard not to be an A+ Better Business Bureau. Last I checked, they had almost 2,700 reviews at just under a 2 rating, a 1.94 out of 5. They're involved in class action lawsuits. They are banned in multiple states. But when Brian actually came to iAutoAgent to use our vehicle finder program, where we help people buy vehicles nationwide. And I don't remember how it even started, but I just said we don't use Carvana. That is one company we don't use because they have a lot of bad ratings. And that's when he said, "Oh, I've got the story for you about Carvana." And I'm going to tell you, folks, when you read something and you hear something, it is completely a different feeling. I started getting chills in my body. I'm like, I can't even believe I'm hearing this. And for those of you that are just joining us, we're talking with Brian, who's our guest, aka victim of the Carvana nightmare. This is a horror story, and we haven't even gotten really into this yet.
No.
We're going to save the best for last, because what we've heard so far is he decided he wanted to use his own financing. They didn't like that, so they delayed his his delivery. The delivery was 3 weeks after he clicked the button. He has damage on his car, and now he is responsible for getting all this stuff done himself and using his valuable time. And if you are in business or a business professional, or you just simply have a family and like to spend time with your family, this is absolutely crazy. And what I would love to hear is anybody that's listening to this right now, make comments below about your horror story. If you know anybody that's ever used Carvana, let's let people know. The reason why we do these shows is to educate people. I am seeing things in Facebook groups. People will put out there, has anybody ever used Carvana go to buy a car or to sell their car? We're thinking about using them. And I'm like, no, don't do it. And then now we're talking to Brian, and his story is just absolutely mind-blowing. We haven't even gotten into it. Brian, let's continue the story from there. Now you're driving around. You're trying to figure out where are you going to get all this stuff repaired. Tell us from there what happened.
Yeah, good question, Jay. So I want to circle back to the beginning. What was my initial driver for using Carvana? Time savings. I didn't want to spend half a day or a full day at the dealership. And as Jay was already recapping, I had already spent hours upon hours driving my car around to try to get it repaired and get it right for delivery, which would have been as soon as I walked away from the dealership at a local dealership, delivery would have been done. That whole transaction would have been done. But let's fast forward to Jay's point. Let's also talk about what should have been done had I gone to a traditional dealership. What do you walk away with? You walk away with the bill of sale, the registration, and the title. All of that is delayed at Carvana. So I was following up with them, as I mentioned earlier, taking it to all the different shops. I was probably 2 weeks without my car from initial delivery. So Jay, how long are temp tags good for?
30 days, Brian.
So I now have the availability to drive my car. My wife's driving this car, by the way, for only 2 more weeks before the temp tags are no longer useful. So I'm still waiting, Jay, for my title and registration paperwork. I hadn't received it yet. And when I called Carvana to follow up on it, they couldn't find it.
Oh, that's good. Tell us, and I would like to hear this. So when you call Carvana, tell us who you speak to and how does it work? Because one of the most frustrating things for me is when I call these places, and here, listen, I have DirecTV, and I don't have any issues with people that are from other countries, but I have issues when these big companies put somebody on the phone that cannot speak English, broken English. I have no idea what they're saying. And then I'm already very upset when I'm calling to begin with. And they're like, how are you doing today, Mr. Grossman?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'm not doing very well. I'm really sorry to hear that. And then they're saying in their voice that I don't even understand what they're saying. And it just takes my stress levels from here to through the roof. So tell us about that.
So Jay, in my instance, or instances, I should say, because as you can imagine, another time suck that I had on this whole effort was constantly having to call Carvana, because you have to follow up with them. They're not going to follow up with you. You have to be persistent and resilient to make sure that they deliver to you what you're entitled to already by taking delivery of this car. Every time I called, they did exactly what you're describing. They were really compassionate. It's almost like they were reading from a script because they knew everybody that was calling in was not going to be happy. But Jay, what really infuriated me more than anything was that I had to, every single time I called, I spoke to a different person. There was no one person handling my case, my situation. Every single time, Jay, that I called in, I had to re-explain the scenario from the beginning of March of what had transpired, what is going on, to re-educate the customer service agent that's supposed to be helping me. I have to educate them and get them up to speed on where we are so that they can assist me. But furtherance of the frustration, Jay, is that most of the time, the agents that I spoke to were not experts in the state of Missouri where I reside. So they didn't understand the laws, the statutes that are applicable to registrations, to getting title, 30 days, getting it registered, paying the sales tax, all that fun stuff that goes along with it. They didn't understand it. So I had to spend my energy, countless hours, re-explaining myself over and over again.
Wow. Oh my gosh. So when you called in, did they like not even notate your file at all, or like anything?
They did notate the file, but I don't know what notes were in the file, obviously, Jay, but it seemingly didn't do the story justice of where we were, why I was following up, why I was frustrated because they'd promised me a callback or they promised me this, and none of those things were delivered to me.
Oh my gosh.
Again, all I'm asking for is the title to my car.
Gosh, that is unbelievable. I have read so many horror stories about these people not getting their titles. So now that you've explained these things over and over, because we're going to save the best for last, where they committed a crime.
Mm-hmm.
But let's keep leading up to that for our listening audience, so they can kind of really feel what you've gone through now. So
yeah,
you've called up there, you're re-explaining things. Then what?
So Jay, I ask for someone in senior leadership, a decision maker, if you will. Because at this time, we've surpassed the 30 days on the temp act. The car can no longer be driven legally in the state of Missouri. It's a giant paperweight sitting in my garage. I can't put it on the street. I'll get a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
So I ask and speak to somebody, what am I supposed to do here? Jay, they made the offer that I'd seen in some of the YouTube and some of the reviews that were critical of them. They offered me temp tax from another state.
I've read that.
Yeah.
Oh, no. That's a no.
And I refused it, Jay. I said, no, I'm not going to accept. I don't remember even what jurisdiction or what state they were coming from.
Doesn't matter. It's illegal.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So I continued to press on with this about how I cannot drive a $45,000 car that is sitting in my garage because I don't have title. I need to go to the DMV to take care of this transaction, to finish it up, to pay the sales tax on this car. So I continued to press on and eventually got somebody we went back and forth, Jay. This took probably a week or two before they gave up a concession. And what I got them to agree to was $300 a week towards a rental car. I want to mind you that how much are rental cars a week right now?
A lot more than that. They're about 70. They're probably 75 for just a crappy car. It's probably $75 a day nowadays.
I think I was spending about $400 or $500. So bottom line, I was coming out of pocket. That's all that mattered.
Oh my God.
So $300 that they were subsidizing for a rental car for me to have a daily commuter for my wife and she's in real estate. She's a busy professional. She has to be in her car. Her day is spent in her vehicle.
Oh my goodness. I don't even know what to say to that. Holy cow. So now, I'm sick to my stomach. If you guys are listening to this and like, please leave comments below. I want to hear what you guys think. Come on, let's everybody chime in. Let's get these, like, they're already going bankrupt right now. And there's a reason why they is because of their practices. And this is just one instance out of thousands of instances throughout the country. So now, what do you do now?
So great question, Jay. So I wanted them to feel the pain. And at $300, I know that it's not a lot of pain, but that subsidization would have a draw on their bottom line, on their profit margin for the car, was what I anticipated. And hopefully would draw eyes and draw attention from someone up in senior leadership. And miraculously, somehow about, Jay, I want to say it was like 4 or 5 weeks. And 4 or 5 weeks, yeah, probably about that. Later, they found my title. They found it. But Jay, keep in mind, every single week I had to call to ask them to FedEx me a check for $300. They didn't just automatically do it. I had to follow up every time.
Are you kidding me? This is absolutely insane.
Yep. and every time was 15 to 30 minutes following up to get them to mail me a check of $300. So my cost per hour on this car was already through the roof at this point.
Did you send them your doctor's bill too because of the stress levels that you're like? This is just,
Yeah,
my mind is so blown. And Brian, frankly, guys, when we do these podcasts, nothing is planned here. I didn't even know that part of it.
yeah.
Holy cow! I have little, like, if you can see my screen, I have chills on my arms right now. I just can't even believe what I'm hearing. And we haven't even got to the freaking illegal thing, the big illegal thing that they have done.
Correct.
I'm listening, Brian. Let's keep going and wrap it up.
All right, Jay. So I now have my registration in hand, and so as you know, going to the Missouri DMV, one of the you have to have the bill of sale of when the transaction took place, and if you don't come to the DMV within 30 days, they charge you a late payment penalty fee. I can't remember what it is. I want to say it's like $25, a maximum of $200, or whatever the maximum is. Okay.
It is.
So I'm having conversations with Carvana of how are you going to reimburse me for this fee? Because remember, the sales tax on this transaction was taken care of back in March. They had all of my sales tax was sitting on their books already. Carvana had the money. They had to send it to the state of Missouri. So I did not have tangible receipt of that money. They've been sitting on it since March. I think it was like $3,000 to $5,000 was my sales tax just on that car.
Yeah.
All right, Jay. So I'm asking about registration and late payment penalties. So I get all the documents sent to me, the title, they have some sort of arrangement with the DMV in the state of Missouri, one of the local DMV offices. I don't know what that arrangement is, nor do I care. All that really matters is what you've been alluding to, is the highly illegal thing that they did. Everybody on the podcast, what they ended up doing was
let's do a drum roll for this, Brian. Yeah. Okay, folks, we are going to hear about the most illegal thing that you could ever imagine, buying a vehicle. Brian, let's hear it.
All right. They altered the bill of sale, everybody. The transaction that I bought this car back in March, the bill of sale said I had bought the car in like July or August of 2022. So they had moved the transaction forward all those months.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
And then what did you do?
I'm baffled, Jay. I don't know what to do at this point in time, because I know that the transaction, I handed over $45,000 plus sales tax to them back in March. What are they doing with their books and their record keeping? It's a publicly traded company. They had tangible receipt and the sale of that car back in March, and they moved it forward to July or August.
This is unbelievable. We have a really great relationship with several DMVs here in the St. Louis area. And I was just telling them, like, hey, wait till you hear this podcast interview, because when I heard that they changed the bill of sale, like, that is fraud. And
it is.
This goes back to leadership. Who started this company? Ernie Garcia II started this company. Who did he give the CEO to? He gave the CEO title to his son, Ernie Garcia III. Why did he do it? Because he is a convicted ex-con of fraud, folks. If you ever have thought about using Carvana and you just heard this story and you still want to use Carvana, then there may be something wrong with you. Because this is the worst story I've ever heard in 26 years of doing this. And let's get these pieces of crap off the freaking road, and let's work with companies that have integrity and do things the right way. Brian, I want to thank you for sharing your story, and I know that that you spent your valuable time, but this is great, paying it forward and trying to keep other people from making the same mistake of using Carvana. And unfortunately, we have to learn really hard lessons sometimes. Well, folks, please I would love to hear your comments below. Please go to the AutoAuthorities.com, theautoauthorities.com. You can even leave us comments. I will respond to everything personally. Everybody just have a great rest of your week. and we will see you on the next podcast. Peace.